From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, the boys are back, not just Corey and I, football team back at practice, observations, takeaways, as well as a wrap-up on the baseball game. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Delicious daily lunch specials on Wednesdays. It's a new one, Corey. It used to be, I think, the quasi-Cuban. Now it's 5-piece chicken wings and French fries, which everybody that knows Tallahassee knows that the best wings in town are at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. 5 of them and French fries for only $8.99. Catch it from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Wednesdays. And is this the third Wednesday of the month? Is it the Jimmy Buffett thing? Third Wednesday of every month is the Parrot Head flocking.
Oh, okay. So, all right. It could be.
Could be. Hanging out. Go to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. You will love it.
Good stuff. You can see me there, too, every now and again. Every now and again.
Hey, this is our first time in the flesh since we drove to the LSU game, Corey.
I feel like it is. You're right. Well, we did some in the for Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
We were there
the
for
hotel.
that.
Yeah.
When we could stomach each other.
Yeah. Warchant.com is the ultimate Seminole sports source. Hopefully you stomach us. Thumbs up, 5-star ratings and reviews, please. We are in an elite spot, an elite corner inside Doak Campbell Stadium. We're recording this after practice on Tuesday. This is your Wednesday podcast. Later on in the show, we'll talk about the baseball game. We don't know what's going on with the baseball game because it's currently underway, but we will talk about it at the end of the show.
I think it's the second inning as we start this. Second inning.
I think Cam Smith doubled.
Carry on Bunnan to third, and that's the last I know.
Right.
So we'll see.
Tune in, everybody, at the end. It's going to be great. We spoke to Mike Norvell afterwards, said that he thought the tempo, he wants to see a little bit more on the tempo side of things, Corey.
Okay.
Otherwise, seemed pretty happy, pointed out standouts a defensive back. Fentrell Cypress listened to the show the other day. He was able to notch interception. KJ Kirkland, would you call it a pick six?
Yeah, I'd call both of them a pick six.
Okay.
I think Cypress's was too.
Quindarius Jones also had an interception,
Yep.
So good day from the defensive backs, which we talked about. We wanted to see something out of the defensive backs. Wide receiver-wise, Kyle Morlock, he's a pass catcher. Norvell talked a little bit about him in the tight ends. Vandrevius Jacobs.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more days we're away from saying he's like a good freshman to where we're like he's just good.
Yeah.
Norvell said that they thought that he was maybe one of the best players in the country. Like they knew about it going into recruiting. And Ira's like, how do you know, or how can you tell, or what do you attribute him being able to be so successful early on? He's like, man, he's just a very good player. So we knew it. So that's always good to hear them hitting things early like that. Darryl Jackson is what Jeff and I were talking about in their post-practice wrap. So they think 14 will start ahead of Fabien and Braden Fisk, who beat Norvell in the race after they broke stretch huddle. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. There were like 3 or 4 guys that beat. The days of racing Robert Cooper are over for Norvell. He keeps recruiting like this.
Yeah.
You're going to be losing most of your races.
You punched out a great observations piece for all of our subscribers at warchant.com. Give us some of your bigger takeaways as Florida State returned for the 4th practice of the spring, their first one since our 10-day hiatus.
Yeah, I thought I kind of led with the defense. I thought the defense was better. I thought it won the day. I thought the DBs made a lot of plays, including 16 Quindarius. Is it Quindarius or Quindarius?
I think Darius.
All right, Quindarius. Not only did he have the interception against Rodemaker in 11-on-11 near the end of practice, he also had a really impressive pass breakup against Johnny Wilson. I liked that he matched himself up against Johnny Wilson, and then on a couple of fades, he just covered him well and then leaped up and broke it up. I didn't think Johnny Wilson had a good practice at all. He made a couple of normal Johnny Wilson catches, but most of the throws to him were either broken up or dropped, just didn't look like himself. But that's, it's one practice. He's been their best receiver for the first week. I didn't think he was himself on Tuesday, but hey, it's March. We're all right. Well, he's allowed to have a bad day.
Maybe he flew out to California for his spring.
He might have, yeah, and he's still getting back on Florida time. But yeah, I thought the DBs were a bright spot. Jarian Jones had an interception on one-on-ones. I thought Travis Jay almost had an interception.
Sneak hanging around.
Yeah, man. He had another and it was like the one that Kirkland had. Rodemaker threw it right to him.
Yes.
Like he didn't see him. He literally hit him in the chest. Anybody listening to this show could have made the catch. They probably wouldn't have scored like he did, but they would have made that catch.
Cypress too, I feel like.
Duffy just kind of underthrew a guy that looked open to me.
Well, his foot slipped.
Is that what had happened? He was rolling to his left and his foot slipped. But Cypress went and made the play. So you got to give him credit for that. But the one that Travis Jay broke up that was almost an interception, that was a football play where he undercuts a route and almost makes that catch. And just like Jarian Jones's interception was a jump ball one-on-one, and he came down with it. I thought the DBs were the bright spot, the defense overall. I didn't get to watch as much in the trenches, but I just thought overall the defense, which is good, that's fine, you want that. But it's starting to become almost like, I don't want to put too much on the kid too soon because he should still be in high school, but it's starting to become pretty obvious that Vandrevius Jacobs, like you talked about earlier, he's the real deal. Yeah. He's not working with ones all the time. He's not going up against Renardo Green and Greedy Vance all the time. But, man, he went up against Cypress, and in one-on-ones, he dusted him twice. Like, he shook him. Now, again, he's running into the middle of the field from the boundary, so that's a lot of room to work with. It's hard to ask DBs to cover for that long. You don't usually see a DB run, 50 yards sideways with a wide receiver. They're usually passed off to someone else. So that's a hard ask for a DB. But he moves in a way. It reminds me of. It's funny. The whole situation not to this extent because I'm not going to put pressure on these two kids and make them seem, project them to be this. But Rashad Green and Kelvin Benjamin came in the same year. Kelvin Benjamin was the bigger name by a little bit, but it was obvious in the one practice we saw. Okay, 80 is different. Kelvin Benjamin might make some plays, but 80 is different. 80 is going to play maybe this year, and he's going to be a star. You could tell that just the way he moved, just the natural football movement that he had as a wide receiver. Always getting open, always making plays against whoever. It kind of seems the same way here with Jacobs and Hakeem Williams. Like Hakeem Williams might end up being something. He's out there, he's practicing.
Norvell shouted him out too. He did his
sure, but 19 is the one that's standing out, man.
Yes.
19 is the one that had 5 or 6 catches in team stuff on Tuesday. He's the one that had a 35-yarder. He's making catches across the middle. He's going up against Cypress and winning. He might be the guy and it's way early. Look, man, it's 4 practices in. It is 4 practices in. I'm certainly not selling my stock in Hakeem Williams, but I'm buying some in this kid. Yes. Like, this kid looks to be the real deal and could be, we'll see. Again, 4 practices, pump the brakes, but he could be one of the steals of the recruiting class. Yeah. Like, he's very impressive so far.
It's crazy. Like, they went to South Florida and grabbed that kid. They went to Mississippi and grabbed Quindarius Jones. Like, Quindarius Jones is another guy, too, that's kind of borderlining on, he's in the rotation probably.
Like, he's not just doing well for a freshman. Yeah. He's doing well for a Florida State defensive back. Yeah.
I mean, like, Meridian's like, it's like right on the border of Mississippi and Alabama. That's a really good football program. And Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Alabama and Auburn didn't pursue him hotly enough, and Florida State scooped him up. Vandrevius Jacobs. These sort of hits that you're hoping for are really encouraging, man. And I don't know, do we think Jacobs? We're not pigeonholing him into slot, are we?
Oh, no. Yeah. I think he can play anywhere. Like, he can be an outside guy. Like, it's not just straight ahead speed. It's a different kind of wiggle. It's a different kind of route running where he gets open. Like, he finds a way to get open. They have a real hard time. All these DBs so far have had a real hard time staying with him. And shout out to Cypress, because Cypress did come back, not just the interception he had, but he made a couple other really nice plays in 11-on-11 and against Jacobs where he came back and won a battle. So that's good to see, but again, that competition is good for everyone. If you were going up against a freshman that had no idea what he was doing, that's not getting anybody better. This kid is getting people better.
He's catching the ball too.
Yes.
Let's not overlook that one. What was the other thing I was thinking about out there when it came to Vandrevius and some of these guys? Yeah, Ken Tron. Ken Tron had a nice run out there. We keep talking. We talked a lot about Darion on the show yesterday about filling that sort of void that we think opposite side of Johnny. Man, Ken Tron keeps stringing this stuff together. Man, he's not going quietly into the night either. And Norvell was asked after practice, because Micah on his blog, I think we hadn't talked to Norvell since he said that he's going to be out 4 to 6 months because of the hip injury. Like, how do you go replace that? And, man, Norvell's really confident in that receiver room, and we've talked about some of the guys already. We talked about some of the guys yesterday. But, yeah, man, Ken Tron's a guy that I probably definitely undervalue. I mean, because, shoot, man, those are 2 throws by A.J. Duffy that were just like back shoulder just goes. And one of them was one-handed, and it was impressive. And I don't even know who was on him, but whoever was draped on him. So he had a really good
Azaria was on him, yeah.
Because I was at a point where I'm like, man, like we've talked about this receiver room, like, oh, they're good, like they've got plenty of options, which they do. But you're like, well, I mean, they don't have a lot of long-haul proven guys.
Right.
And like now I'm like, man, well, can they figure it out? And it's like, well, they've got so many guys that surely they're going to be all right there. So I don't know. I don't even know if that's a position I think they'll go after in the portal anymore. Not that maybe they even were in the first place. Defensively, anything else stick out to you? I think he said Jared Versa throwing people around, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. They do those drills where it's not even like the linemen and D linemen aren't trying to, the defensive linemen aren't trying to just get around them, and the offensive linemen aren't trying to push. It's like they're holding each other for a second or two and then going.
They're engaging. They're
engaging.
Yeah.
It's almost like the defensive lineman's job is to keep the lineman from getting past them, and vice versa. Clearly, but
gap integrity and all that kind of stuff.
It's not like just go race around them. It's like you've got to stand strong and stay in your lane. And Burst and Lovett both will grab someone and then just yank them down multiple times. Verse did it every time I watched him do it. He engages and then just yanks. It's that strength. I think it's also the length of his arms. He can push you aside and then yank you down real quickly, and he just dismisses them. Good players, dismisses them quickly. I did see Jeremiah Byers. I only bring this up because I brought it up for the last practice when Patrick Payton sprinted right past him. I saw them again go after each other, and Byers stoned them, like got in front of them and held them, didn't let them go anywhere. So that's good to see. Again, you hope that you learn from the mistake, you watch it on film, you see what you did wrong against a guy like Payton, and then you win the next battle, and Byers did that. Not to say Payton didn't have a good day. Going back to because I've talked to Jeff about this, and he keeps talking about Darrell Jackson.
Him and I are really...
No, and I like the kid, and he's going to play a lot. I don't, and this is kind of where coaching is different than who's the best player. Fabien Lovett is a very good college football player. And I don't think it's a great message, and this is just me, and people might roll their eyes, to have a kid that's been here for 2 months beat out the kid that could have gone pro, stayed, and has been one of kind of the heartbeat of your team for the last 3 or 4 years. You don't just relegate him to second team.
You say he beats him out, but if he beats him out, he beats him out.
But if it's defensive tackle, like they're all going to play. You know, Corey Simon was an All-American. He didn't start. Like you can still, you're going to play 35 to 40 reps. I just don't think you tell somebody like Fabien Lovett, you're not my starter. Because, number one, Fabien Lovett's very good. We haven't even seen really what Braden Fisk can do from a physicality standpoint. He's very quick and clearly very fast. He's as fast as Norvell, who's probably, 120 pounds lighter, probably, wouldn't you think?
Norvell's a good 180, 190.
Fisk's probably 300, right? Yeah, so it's impressive watching Fisk move. He is an athlete. So I would just think, maybe it's Jackson and Lovett that start, and Fisk comes off. But either way, that trio, and you hope Farmer is a quartet, and somebody else works themselves in, Lyons or somebody else joins that fray. I think, I just think this goes back to like a culture and what you're trying to build your program upon. What would it look like to his teammates? And look, if it's not even a contest, if we're August 20th and Fisk and Jackson are clearly just head and shoulders above Fabien Lovett. Number one, that is great news, because Fabien Lovett, when he's healthy, is a very good college defensive lineman. But if it's close to even, I don't know that that's what the message you want to send is. Fabien Lovett came back for another year, his second time he's done this for you. Played hurt last year, even when he wasn't ready. He hustled back so he could play those last 3 or 4 games. And then you bring in somebody from another school, and he starts ahead of them. And Fabien, you can get some, and again, it's defensive tackle, so they rotate more than most positions. But I just think Fabien Lovett, if it's close to even, then Fabien Lovett deserves to start, and one of those other guys can come off the bench. But don't you think that's how Corey Clark would run his football team?
That makes sense.
I'm gonna, for his loyalty, Fabien Lovett is my starter. He might even come out that first drive if it's a 9 or 10 play drive. He's coming off the field anyway to be replaced, but I think Fabien Lovett needs to start.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the champion, like, don't go to decision. Don't take it to the scorecards. Like, if you have to outperform him head and shoulders, it has to be so obvious to everybody in that locker room that those guys are better. But again, like to your point, it's like, all right, yeah, sure, start. and you'll get the first 3 plays, and then you're probably running off the field. Hopefully you force a punt, or you're getting a blow. So,
but your hope, I mean, they all hope they're playing about 40 snaps a game. You're defensive tackles, right, man? You don't want to be out there for 68 snaps a game. Like, I think Fabien played like that many against Florida. Like, he was out there a ton in that game, and he clearly wasn't himself. But yeah, you want all those guys. You'd want Fabien Lovett, if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you will want him to have played somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 snaps going into that fourth quarter. I mean, it's hard, man. That's a hard position. 60 or 70 snaps. By that 58th snap, you're just not who you were on the 5th snap.
Special teams wise, somebody asked us the other day on the Renegade Express, which I don't know if we'll have Renegade Express. Might have a live show, might have a Renegade Express, might have both, might have neither. Tune in.
We like to keep you guys on your toes.
Subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll just get notifications whenever these things happen. But when they do their period 3 team tempo stuff, they usually, unless they actually throw a touchdown, they'll kind of end it prematurely with a kick, like a pressure kick.
Yeah.
So it was Keltner, 35-ish yards?
Yeah, 35 yards.
Hit it.
Nailed it, yep.
Shit. I mean, like, chip shot. Like, he just really lightly tapped it and freaking blasted it through. So that was good to see. And then somebody asked us about punt returners.
Yeah.
So there's video footage of everybody, but if you don't want to go watch the video, which I don't understand why you wouldn't, David Johnson's out there with the squirt gun. Somebody's also asking in the comments, what's up with the squirt gun? You know, knock them off their spot.
Right.
Distract them.
Yep.
You know, make it
like
more
Earl
difficult.
Woods throwing the bag down when Tiger was in the middle of a backswing.
Yeah.
You just gotta you want to try to make them uncomfortable.
So Winston Wright's actually back there returning punts a little bit.
Yeah.
Azarie Thomas and Vandrevius Jacobs.
Yep.
So, I mean, are you at a point now, something kind of hit me a little bit on Tuesday watching practice where, like, you know, we don't see a whole bunch of other teams practice. We don't know how these other teams, how Alabama,
Nobody
Georgia
sees
looks.
anybody else practice.
Touche. But, like, it really does feel like, I don't know, I guess maybe seeing how they practiced last year, how they performed, seeing the way they're practicing now, just the amount of players, the talent they have out there, it seems like the quality of reps they're getting really makes you believe that, you know, not that anybody thought that last year was like an aberration or like smoke and mirrors. Like, man, this is a legitimately quality football team right now with depth everywhere seemingly and really good competitive reps anytime they're in a 7-on-7, 11-on-11, one-on-one situation, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to think about how much better they're going to get over the next 11 practices, including the spring game.
Yeah, no, it's there. It's clearly there. It's funny when you think about like somebody like Jermaine Johnson coming in, and he clearly was going to start, and he stood out so much compared to who else you had on the team. Now these other guys, Edmond, Jackson, who we talked about, Fisk, they're going to be good players, and they make plays and they flash. Cypress, but they don't stand out like they would have 2 years ago. You know what I mean? They kind of just join the herd, and they fit in. Not they stand out, they fit in because you've got other good players around them. So that is a really encouraging step that this program has made. It is real competition. I think it is real competition for the backup quarterback spot. And I think it's real competition for backup running back. I think there's competition at every position on the offensive line, legitimate competition. We have no idea legitimately who's going to start at any of the 5 positions. We have ideas, we have thoughts, we can predict, but nothing is set in stone. There is nobody on that offensive line that is an absolute starter at a certain position.
Yeah.
I
You
think
really can't say Maurice. You can't really say Maurice, can you?
I think Byers is a starter, but I don't know where.
Right.
I think Roddick is probably a starter, but I don't know where, and it's just a probably. Like, that's how good they are. Like, Roddick 3 years ago, you'd have been like, yeah, where do you want to play, buddy? Which position? You can play 2 at a time if you want.
They have to be here.
Yeah, just show up in August. That's the strides that they've made. That competition is real, and it's only going to make those younger guys better, but it's also going to make, like we talked about, bringing in somebody like Vandrevius Jacobs not only makes Finchell Cypress better, or Renardo Green better, or Thomas, whoever has to cover him. Hakeem Williams better get going, man. Like, he sees what 19's doing. He's not dumb. He sees what we all see through 4 practices. And again, I know how comically small a sample size 4 practices into what is going to be a 4-year college career in their spring practices when they're both supposed to be in high school. But Hakeem Williams is a competitor. He knows how many stars he had by his name. And he doesn't want to get outshined by a kid that didn't have that many stars, that didn't have the big name. So he's got to step up. And that's going to be really interesting to see the next 3 weeks. And then obviously going into August, how much he steps up his game, not just to try to get on the field with Johnny Wilson and Winston Wright and Kentron Portier, but try to keep up with the other freshmen. That's cool. That's a cool thing to have.
What's up at quarterback, though, man? You don't think Tate's got it locked down?
Well, look, man, I thought for sure
It wasn't a good Tuesday.
It was not a good Tuesday for Rodemaker. He threw the one that we talked about that was right at Kirkland. He threw another interception that our man Jones had, the other freshman.
I think that might have been, I don't know whose fault that was, because they have that replay board that you referenced.
Yeah.
And I was looking on the replay board, and it looks like Tate thought it was going to be a deep post, but the receiver just kept going.
Yeah,
on
I think it was Portier.
It was.
I think it was Portier that was running that route. He loves him some Kentron. Old Tate's loved Kentron since back in the 2020, back in the COVID days.
Yeah, ask Miami.
Yeah, that's right. But I think, Tate just didn't look sharp at all. Not even just those two interceptions. It's not like he was whizzing it all over the field and then he just had those two bad plays. He almost was intercepted by Travis Jay on another play. He just didn't look sharp. Again, it was the first practice back after a 9 or 10 day break, and it's way too small a sample size. But I still think he's clearly number 2. But I don't want to see many more of those days. Like we're 4 years now. This is year 4 for him. Right. We need to not see the struggle days as much. Like he's been in this system long enough. He's playing with guys now he's been playing with for years. Those kind of mistakes, the one where you just throw it right to a line. I mean, I know Kirkland's a DB, but he was basically playing where a linebacker plays, and you throw it right to him, didn't see him at all. Just erase that kind of stuff, because I do like his upside. I do like his potential. I think he has a chance to be a good college quarterback. But I just, the ups and downs, let's level that off.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned like Ikeem seeing a guy outperform him. It's like I don't know when Tate's not throwing the ball if he's seeing ananybody other than 13 that he's like, oh, I'm scared.
No, so correct.
That's kind of.
But I do wonder with AJ Duffy and Brock Glenn, because I mentioned this when we were watching the tail end of practice. Brock Glenn is playing. He's getting 4 third-team type reps. I mean, they're trying to get reps for 4 quarterbacks, meaning when Brock Glenn goes in there, sometimes it's a bunch of walk-ons he's facing. Most of the time on Tuesday, it seems like
legitimately when it's 7-on-7, it's usually walk-ons.
Oh, well, there aren't many scholarship athletes that he's going up against, at least on Tuesday. Now they mix and match, so maybe on Thursday he's going up against second stringers, but he's going up against a lot of walk-ons. But what I like, he's also not throwing to Johnny Wilson either. He's throwing to some backups at key positions too, and has a backup offensive line in front of him. But even on 11-on-11, his head is not spinning. He doesn't take a lot of chances yet that I can tell, but he gets the ball out quick.
He throws it. He actually gives us a rep.
Yes, and he gets it out quick, and he throws it to open people. Now, those open people might only get 4 yards, but I love that he, I think he threw I think Jarian intercepted him in the one-on-ones, but that was just kind of a jump ball, just throw it. You're supposed to throw it. It's one-on-one. Give those guys a chance to go make a play. The receiver just didn't get open. But in these settings, these team settings, 7-on-7 and 11-on-11, he is not getting you beat. Like, he's making good decisions for a kid that should be still in high school, a kid that should be getting ready to go to prom. He's holding his own with one of the better teams in the country. Now, again, he's not playing. Jared Burse isn't rushing him most of the time, but he's still getting to get acclimated to it, and he has not looked overwhelmed from the jump. It just seems natural for him, and he trusts what he sees. He gets rid of it. He's not taking a lot of chances right now, but I'd rather that, I think, at this point than the alternative, because I'd hate for him to just be whipping it in the middle of the field, 22 yards down the middle of the field, and getting picked every practice. I think he should have a lot of confidence in how he's played through 4 games, and it looks to me like he's got a nice future. Like, again, 4 practices, we'll see, but I like what I've seen out of him, man. He seems like a really mature dude that's stable and does not make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, he has the luxury of being with the scholarship guys when he's going against those walk-ons.
Yes.
But, man, I mean, we're just seeing kind of just an understanding conceptually of where the ball has to go. It really is encouraging, because, he could possibly be in line to push for even more playing time going next year. So
he will be in the battle if he'll be in a battle to start next year.
Yeah. Remind me though on Thursday. So now they're at the point now where when they go to period 3, everybody. So people ask us, like, film more stuff. Can you film this? Can you film that? Listen, man, we get 3 periods to film, and for one of them they're pretty much just doing like stretching practically. So like I can't get you guys everything. But during period 3, which we can't film when they do 11-on-11 stuff, in the IPF they'll go good on good. Like Jordan's going against the ones, and then Tate will go. outside, they've got AJ and Brock going. So make sure I stay outside so I can see how they perform in 11 on 11. So we have some more stuff.
Oh, okay. There you go, buddy.
So
Nice.
I noticed that today. I'm like, look at that, man. They've got this thing going, man. And the offensive line, the amount of freaking drill work they get into the offensive line because they have so many good, capable bodies. It's crazy out here, everybody. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
It's a lot of bodies, man. I remember there was a play on Tuesday where they roll in, like they bring an alignment off in the right before a play is being run, and they run on a 67. And I'm like, who is 67? Is that a walk-on? Like, why is he going in so late into the play clock? And it's Thomas Schrader, who's not only a scholarship athlete, but a guy that they really liked a couple of years ago that was really talked up. And again, he would probably be, I don't know, man, 13th right now.
Power rankings, yeah.
Yeah, in the power rankings of your offensive lineman, he's probably 12th or 13th. But I mean, that's just, they clearly think he's capable and has potential. And he's a guy that might have started 4 years ago. He might have been one of the guys that was slated to start. Now he's number 13, but that's the depth you're talking about. That's who Brock Glenn and A.J. Duffy get to work with, and that's who those defensive linemen have to go up against. Thomas Schrader's hasn't been healthy for a long period of his college career, but he's a big dude and he's a strong dude, and those are really good reps for a third-string defensive lineman, right? A freshman or a redshirt freshman having to go up against that guy because he's a grown man now.
Would it have been an NCAA violation if we would have handed out vitamin energy to the players as they were walking onto the field on Tuesday?
I don't think there are NCAA violations anymore. I think we're clear, except Miami with the twin basketball players, twin girl basketball players, women basketball players. That's it. By the way, speaking of that, before you get to the read, Tanaya Latson won a Freshman of the Year award, the Tamika Catchings Freshman of the Year award. So good for her. That's cool.
Stay here, Stay here tonight. Don't go anywhere.
Please don't.
Yeah, Tallahassee. VitaminEnergy.com. Use that promo code WARCHANT, BOGO, B-O-G-O. Vitamin Energy. So many different blends, different flavors. Focus, energy, mood, pre-workout, fat burner. Choose it. You can get multiple when you use the promo code WARCHANT, BOGO. Buy one, get one free of equal or lesser value. We're going to go with a little bit. I don't even have it in front of me right now, Corey, because we're in the inner sanctum of Doak Campbell Stadium, but I can see the bottles on my table.
I had the acai pomegranate.
There's your back on it
today. Yeah, right. Yep.
Well, good. You get a lift in before practice?
No, I didn't get a lift in. I just needed a little pick-me-up. I need a little boost because I had what did I do today? I had to write a story. I didn't go. We should talk about the Ireland thing. I didn't go to the press conference, but yeah, I knew I had a long day. And so I was like, I'm going to need not a little, a big pick-me-up. Yeah. And listen to me, guys.
And you haven't crashed?
At all. Listen to me, man. Listen to the juice in my voice. Yeah, man. Are you crazy?
VitaminEnergy.com. The good folks over there that are Florida State alums gave that promo code WARCHANT, B-O-G-O, to you folks to take advantage of it. Shake it and take it. Give it a shot. VitaminEnergy.com. Again, promo code WARCHANT, B-O-G-O. Buy one, get one free. MyBookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, but it's March, so you're going to bet the NCAA tournament. Second week, Sweet 16. Sign up for a new account. Use the promo code WARCHANT, and you will get an instant cash deposit bonus to your account, courtesy of our friends over at MyBookie.ag. All right, here are my picks for Thursday, though. Feel free to fade. Do what you will. Entertainment purposes. Take the under on UConn, Arkansas. It's 139.5. UConn grinds things away. Arkansas, not a very adept three-point shooting team. We're going to take the under on that. Michigan State now is -2. I like Kansas State so much. That line is stinky. We're going to lean into it. We're going to take Izzo and the Spartans. UCLA, going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I think they're very good. They're only giving out 2 points out to Gonzaga. I'm going to stick with the Bruins, though. We'll see how that goes. I don't have any feelings on FAU and Tennessee. Tennessee just gut punched me with the way they took down Duke, which is great. No one really likes Duke, but we put a lot of money on Duke, so that's how it goes. Anyhow, all right, under on UConn, Arkansas, Michigan State, -1, and UCLA, -2. That's how we're rolling. Aslan is over at MyBookie.ag. Use our promo code WARCHANT over at MyBookie.ag. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, but again, it's March Madness. We know what you're here for. Baseball forthcoming, but as Corey had mentioned before the break, big victory lap for Florida State Athletics, Florida State University on Tuesday as dignitaries literally from Ireland were in town to announce the Aer Lingus, or I guess formally kind of accept the offer for the Aer Lingus college football kickoff, I guess is what they call it. Shout out to Aer Lingus. Right. Seminoles to Ireland.com, I guess, if you want to go, folks. And it's the numeral 2, not like T-O, So it's Seminoles, the number 2, Ireland.com, if I'm not mistaken. Get your package or whatever. We're not getting a kickback on that, but just letting you folks know if you want to go, that's probably the best way to go ahead and do it. I should have asked Alford this and given him the opportunity to kind of like get on a soapbox, I guess, Corey. But what stood out to me the most from that whole situation on Tuesday with everybody there was Notre Dame's done this 3 times now, I guess. They'll be playing Navy to start this coming season. Yeah. It's the 3rd time they've gone, and every year it's been a little bit more. I think the first year they ever did it, I think like 90, they said like 97 or 90, they said they did it in the 90s. I don't remember Notre Dame going to Ireland in the 90s. But it was like 15,000 Americans, and then it went to like 25,000. There's going to be like close to 40 probably this year. But the greatest indicator of the turnout is like the first week of sales of tickets. And no one has ever sold more tickets in the first week of this Aer Lingus, this basically the kickoff game in Ireland, than Florida State. Really should ask Alford, like, what does that mean? Like, how much of a, I don't know, flex, I wasn't going to say it that way, but just, hey, man, like, I feel like the whole point of this thing really is just to be like, hey, man, look at us, Indianapolis, look at us, Birmingham, look what we do. He keeps talking about primetime loves the Noles. That stood out to me, was just the fact. I can't believe that's crazy, man. Shout out to all you folks that are such diehards. I mean, you drop in, I don't know, thousands of dollars to go watch your football team play a game 18 months away.
Well, and they're dropping $250 just on a deposit, not knowing what they don't even have a package yet to buy or purchase. Talking to some friends that are going to go, and they just put down the $250 as a package, as a deposit to see to have the right to buy and it's non-refundable, to have the right to buy the package worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Like those PSLs, right? Like
basically a PSL for a Falcons game. So yeah, man, I think it's over 2,000 that they've sold already. They've already had over 50 suite tickets tried to be purchased, put in for. It kind of reminds me of how excited everybody was last summer for New Orleans. Like, you can tell this is a fan base that's been itching for half a decade. And New Orleans was the first instance of that. Orlando, there was a huge turnout in Orlando, too, for a Cheez-It Bowl in the middle of the week. And then now this Ireland game, it's going to be cost prohibitive for many. Most fans just won't. I mean, that's just a ton of money.
I want to go, folks, but, it's part of my job. So
right, understood. Yeah, understood. So, but yeah, man, I just think it's cool that Florida State is it's. I don't know if you say setting records yet, because the tickets haven't necessarily really been bought. But yeah, if they're trending towards 20,000 people going to Dublin, or 25,000 Florida State fans going to Dublin, that says a lot. That is a lot of people going a long way away to watch a game against Georgia Tech. A long time from now, like a year, 17 months from now. That's it's really impressive, man. And again, I don't recall, maybe the Bowden Gator Bowl, the last one, I don't recall the fan base kind of getting this percolated so quickly and getting the wheels in motion and so excited. And again, maybe it's just the people I hang out with, but everybody that we know, Stephanie and I know, they're all making plans to go. That's how excited they are. I mean, they are really excited about this trip.
Yeah, and then I think the organizer, John Anthony, was saying, somebody asked me who, I think maybe it was Ira, because God bless Ira. Man, it was like, we understand it's a game, it's 18 months away, and they did like a Q&A, and it was kind of this awkward silence, and then Ira stepped up to the plate and asked a bunch of good questions. And I think he was the one that asked this John Anthony guy, who's the organizer of it, like, who else, was out there? How do you even go about figuring out what teams you want to invite to this? And he's like, well, it's interesting. He's like, since it is early in the year, so this will be August 24th, 2024.
Right.
Then the following week, they're going to play on Labor Day or the Sunday of Labor Day?
No, it would be the Labor Day night.
Yeah, so Monday night, probably against Boston College and Doak. Don't quote me, but close to that. Tom knows these things. I think that's what Tom was able to kind of piece together. But it was like, the cool thing about this is it's a week 0 game. He's like, so everybody's at home watching. He's like, last year when it was Nebraska Northwestern, he's like, literally during the game, I got a call, and he starts just rattling off like 2 SEC coaches, like, an administrator from this university. He didn't say the actual name, but he was dropping conferences and just like schools that desperately want to go to this. And it was like, we kind of slow played it with some people, but because like we wanted Florida State, and as soon as Florida State jumped on it, like we were all about it. So like, again, there's, I don't know, it could have been Arkansas, but still, man, just think about these SEC schools and just how much clout they think they have, and just, all the coattails they're riding on when it comes to everybody. And then, they want to be part of a situation like this, and they're like, yeah, we'll see about that. And they take Florida State at the drop of a hat.
And so I think it was Norvell that said that. We had heard that anyway about the Monday night game afterwards. So because it kind of caught my ear when I heard that they were going to stay an extra day. Like Sunday after the Ireland game is when they're going to do a lot of their travel, like a lot of their sightseeing.
So is that a Saturday, August 24th, 2024?
Yeah, it's August 24th. It's a Saturday, and then that Sunday they're going to stay to do the sightseeing in Dublin and I guess surrounding counties in Ireland. And I was like, well, if they're staying Sunday, that's a day that they should be getting ready for a football game, and so they're not going to get back till Monday, and they're going to be jet lagged. But yeah, they're not playing again until the following Monday, which would be, we don't know who it's going to be against. It's going to be an ACC opponent. Probably could be Boston College. We'll see. But either way, you go from playing. You're going to be the only game in town, essentially. There might be another Week 0 game, but you're going to be the only one anybody cares about because most Week 0 games are Florida State, Duquesne.
Yeah.
Or Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. But this is Florida State, Georgia Tech. It's a conference game, and then you turn around 9 days later, and you are going to be the only game in town again. Literally on that Monday night, you're going to be the Labor Day game at home. It should be at home, I would think,
yes,
right?
It is,
yeah, because it's Boston. So that's a cool start to the season. It's 2 conference games, two against two not good teams. Old Tate, Rod Dog, Hot Rod might be in the early Heisman list after two big showings against Georgia Tech and Boston College.
And I think they said that the game's going to be played in prime time. But I don't know if that means prime time.
We'll see, right?
Greenwich Standard Time.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it prime time in Ireland?
Yeah.
And then it's like 2 p. Because the Nebraska Northwestern game was an afternoon game. I remember it. Yes. I'm going to be watching the Navy Notre Dame game a lot more intently and I'm going to be reading a lot of their coverage. I'm going to see when those writers get over there, when the fans show up. Like I want to read all that since it's going to be happening for Florida State the next year. I'll be paying much closer attention to that trip.
And let's now talk about baseball. We've been everywhere, Corey. We're not the bowels. We were like in the inner sanctum, like some holy space inside Doak Campbell Stadium. Shout out! I don't want to give a shout out to the person who gave us access to that room, but we were looking for a place to knock out part of the podcast before the baseball game and stumbled upon that. Now we're inside the visiting radio room, I guess, here at Dick Hauser Stadium, Mike Martin Field. Florida State drops it to Florida 9-5. Corey. Well, they were up 2-0. They're up 5-3.
5-1.
5-1?
Yep, 5-1. Eight unanswered there for the Gators to end it.
That felt that felt like those during that losing streak towards the end of 11's career, like where you just kind of knew it was just inevitable.
You know what it reminded me of, honestly, was the basketball game this year with Florida, where, remember, Florida State got up by like 20 at half, and you're like, wow, this is incredible. They're playing really well. Florida's better than they are. Now, it turned out Florida's basketball team was not very good, but it's still better than Florida State's, clearly. And then the second half happened, and you realize, oh, yeah, all the faults, all the flaws we knew this team had, they reared their ugly head in this game, and it gives you almost less hope than it would have if you'd have just gotten down 9-1 and scored a few runs late. But to get up 5-1, and then for that to happen the way it happened, like every inning Ben Barrett gave you a good start. He gave up 1 run in 4 innings, but the one he gave up in the 4th, Florida followed with a single run in the 5th, in the 6th, in the 7th, and then 5 in the 8th. And the bullpen is so bad that Link, with 1 out in the 8th inning, and the bases loaded, goes to his Friday night starter to try to get out of the jam. It doesn't happen, and they lose. Ballmeister, they didn't hit him exceptionally hard, but he faced 5 batters and gave up 4 hits. A couple of them were a little choppy infield hits, but they're hits. They put the ball in play, and Florida, put the ball in play and won the game, and their bullpen is much better than Florida State's, much better.
Yeah, Link said that Jackson was hounding him all day about just at least getting to pitch 1 inning if he could, at least. And, they're at that point where that was a viable option for them. He said they thought his velocity looked fine, but he's not sure what the location was. But he's put on the brave face, though, man. Like, there's actual people, I don't think people really mean it. I guess they're just bored. They go on the internet like, we should fire Link Jarrett. Like,
I'm sure they're joking. If they're not joking, then that's a crazy way to live life.
He talked about, I'm like, hey, man, you got to go and play number 9 Virginia now. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing to keep you guys focused. He said he doesn't sense any confidence shaken in the team. He thinks they're approaching everything good, but he's like, I'm not telling them to focus on the who. I'm shuffling the letters and telling them to focus on the how.
Okay, Link.
He's like, if you play the game right, the game will take care of you. And like he's talked about playing clean.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems the two things that he's just kind of coming back to and circling back on is pitch execution. I think offensively he likes where they're at and where they could possibly be. Pitch execution and playing clean, which AKA stop kicking the ball around.
Yeah. Well, and they didn't commit any errors on Tuesday against Florida. They did have some walks that you just don't need to have, and they had some base running mistakes, including the last out of the game where Kamaka's at first with one out, and Cam Smith hits a little bloop to the second baseman, and Kamaka takes off like he doesn't know the rules of baseball. And he's doubled up it. The second baseman catches it and could have run it to first for the double play. It's stuff like that just doesn't make sense. But Florida had a terrible base running play too when the game was actually on the line by one of their stars. So, it's just that what we knew the problem was with this team is still the problem. Like, it just says so much, doesn't it, about your team when your only viable guy is Baumeister. In the 8th inning in a midweek game, you have to go to a guy that pitches in 3 days against the number 8 or number 9 team in the country. Like, that's how bad the arms are right now. There's a dearth of experience or a dearth of talent, there's just not a lot of depth on this staff. And midweek games are going to be tough, man. Like, you couldn't have asked for more from Ben Barrett. Give you 4 innings against the number 3 team in the country that hits the ball like they do, and you still lost. So it was a bad loss because of what you up 5-1 at home in the 5th inning, up 5-4 in the 8th, and you bring in Jamie Arnold, who's never been in a situation like that, gives up a single, two-strike single to a left-handed hitter. The kid does a great job of just putting the bat on the ball, spraying it to left field. The next kid gets a hit on a blooper that goes 70 feet over the pitcher's head. It landed barely over the pitcher's mound, but it was in no man's land. You couldn't make the play. All of a sudden, first and second, nobody out. He gets a big out. I think he struck out the next kid and then walks the next kid. And it's like, okay, well, clearly the moment might have been a little too, that walk with a 2-strike walk, the kid worked a walk, and then he gives up a hit to tie the game, and then Baumeister comes in, and it gets out of it got away from him. And the offense did nothing after the first 4 innings. Nothing. They had 3 hits over the last 5 innings and struck out 10 times.
Says why it's trending well, doesn't know what the rotation is going to be for the Virginia series. But mentioned, obviously, it's really difficult when you don't get one single pitch out of Wyatt Crowell an entire week to do well. So,
but, I mean, now they've lost. It's not just Crowell. We know what their record is with him. I think they're undefeated when he pitches. But they have lost now 6 of 7 games, man. Yeah. I mean, this is a bad stretch. For a team that has a good offense. I really do like their offense, but it's not good enough to overcome some of their deficiencies, and they have some deficiencies now, clearly. But, Florida's awesome. Florida's really good. Like, you didn't even get to see they got 3 weekend guys that are better than anything they threw out there on Tuesday, and their guys on Tuesday were plenty good. So he's once again somehow loaded for bear with unbelievable talent, and it just looks. I got to watch both teams take BP because we were watching the football practice, and when they were doing special team stuff, I might have turned my head and watched BP. And it just looks like a different sport almost. They've got 6'3", 6'4", 6'3". Tibbs is awesome. Jaime Ferrer is really good, but they look like normal people. Florida's got 6'5" guys that just hit bombs. And their best player is their first baseman, who's got 13 home runs this year.
Tied for the nation's lead right now.
He didn't hit a
Jackson.
Yeah, he had 4 hits on Tuesday, but none of them were homers. They were big hits though, and he's also one of their weekend starters. Jeez. He's a starting pitcher too that averages a strikeout and a half per inning. Like, it's just he's the Shohei Ohtani of college baseball. I don't know how Florida keeps getting guys like that, but they do, and we're all looking forward to the days when Link is bringing in similar talent. Because they're just more talented. They're just a more talented team. You look at them, you line them up next to each other, they look like a completely different, they look like they play a different sport, and they are very good when the lights are on too.
Just trying to think, like, who did they lose? I mean, I know they lost Ross Dunn, but like, who else? I mean, obviously Messick, Hubbard go pro, but like, man, nothing could have caught them off guard in terms of their pitching staff being this thin. I'm not saying that they didn't exhaust all their options, but I do wonder what the discussions were when he took this job in July about, all right, like, long-term vision, then short-term vision. that you're in this position right now, again, where you're throwing Jackson Ballmeister, sorry, Jackson, in the 8th inning against Florida on a Tuesday night. Like
when he has to pitch 3 days
yeah,
later.
how
Yeah, it's
pluck away kids from Jacksonville State. I mean, it's crazy to me that they're in this position. I don't know, like when you're in a slump, I just feel like offensively things work out more in college baseball season for you offensively over the course of 60 games. But pitching is one of those things where you're not going to, I don't know, maybe Ben Barrett's somewhat of a new, I don't know what's the word I'm trying to look for here, revelation.
Yeah.
But
he might be a nice piece, as it turns out. I like him. He's a good, maybe he ends up being this Caglione kid for Florida
maybe
next
he's our
year.
Shohei Ohtani because he was raking.
But yeah, he hits the ball well, and he pitched well against a really good offense on Tuesday. But yeah, they just don't have a lot of answers. Like when they were pitching Whitaker in the middle innings, like the 6th and 7th inning on Tuesday, because he was their best available arm, and he has not been very good this year, by the way. But he gave up runs in back-to-back innings, and I'm like, who do they even go to? Like, who's even the next guy? Who's the next guy? Who's the arm after this? It turned out to be Jamie Arnold, and it turned out to be Ballmeister. So the answer was they didn't have one. Yeah. Like, this is their best guy. They're throwing him in the 6th. He couldn't hold the lead. Or he held the lead, but he kept giving up runs, and then they kept chipping away, and finally the dam broke in the 8th. But that was to me that was an expected result. The score isn't surprising. It's just a bummer. It hurts a little more. It's a lot more frustrating when you get up 8 straight runs to end the game, and you had a 5-1 lead, and you're in control, and it would have been a big win. It would have been a really big win for this team.
And hearing their fans cheering on TV, I mean, I was watching some of the game at home, and like you hear them cheering in your house, upsets me. But nonetheless, they take on Virginia this weekend up in Charlottesville. Virginia, I think, is ranked 9th right now. And then after that, they'll play Florida in Jacksonville next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, and then Miami after that. So,
I think that's Jacksonville in 2 weeks. I don't think
weeks?
they. Yeah,
Okay.
so they get a reprieve from having to play Florida again so soon. So they get 13 days off before having to play them in Jacksonville.
All right. So, but hey, the football team's looking great, everybody. So go rewind to the beginning of the show. Listen to how it's just gush about the football team. They'll be back practicing on Thursday. We'll drop at least one more show, minimum.
Right.
And hey there.
Hey, I'm just making sure windows are closed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. That's how we roll, everybody. We're trespassing at this point, probably. So let's get out of here.
I don't think so. We're in a press box. It's media.
Yeah,
Sorry, everyone. I'm glad you get to hear the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on here. What we do for you guys is we sit in the visiting radio booth.
You want to do a live show, Corey? We do that
For later on today or Thursday? Which one do you think? Thursday would be tough, though, because you got football.
Yeah,
you could do like an 8 o'clock.
Ooh, 8.
We could do an 8 o'clock live show.
Vitamin Energy.
Yeah, man. I'm all for it. I'm down.
And then we can roll right into March Madness with mybookie.ag.
Oh, that's right, because there'll be games Thursday night.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
And then maybe Renegade Express for you folks tomorrow.
Okay.
So
all right.
we'll keep this thing going. This train stops for nobody when the
let's
football
do it.
team is doing stuff. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you so much for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.